And we're live. Hey, good evening, everybody. I am Tony Solo on Twitter. And this is the snooze, SnarkAlec News. We're going to be talking about some SnarkAlec fantasy football, Dylan's adventures on New Year's, some birthdays, the enemy territory game, and a little bit of Star Wars. Since I mentioned birthdays, and let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Dylan. Hey, Dill.
Happy New Year, everybody out there. Happy New Year to you, Tony. How y'all doing today? You got to bear with me. I'm still battling the cold I had way back on New Year's Eve. But just wanted to say, I think, to be honest, I think this is our 1-year anniversary because I think we started January of last year, I think.
I have to check.
I have to double check the videos of these, but I think we've been on for at least a year. Granted, it's once a month, sometimes twice, depending on things. But still, it's impressive. We've done at least 12 episodes of this, so hey, go us. Anyway, birthdays, not a lot going on in the month of January because all the SnarkAlecs are deciding that they want to be born in March. So, so we're probably go through a light bit amount. And this one, actually, the only one we have is on January 20th. Is our old friend Bettoni. I call her Bettoni, Lindsay Bettoni. We haven't talked to her. She hasn't been on Twitter since like May. I think she moved over to England and sort of disappeared into the English culture. She was always good for a laugh, though, when we did our the sci-fi original. So that's it. I mean, if we miss somebody, let Laura Norman know, but that's the only name she had on there. So that's until February. So we'll see who we get between in February. But as of now, there's no one else in January.
Huh? Because you're like really wonky there for me, so I hope it's not me.
It's been me. It's been going when we were talking beforehand. You were freezing for a few seconds, and then it would start up again. It could very well be me because I've been having some issues the last couple episodes of Dylan Knows. So I'm hoping it's not something with the computer. That computer's only a year old, so. I'll have to look into that. Hopefully, maybe this week's episode won't be so bad. But but yeah. So bear with us if we do go a little wonky. It clears itself up eventually.
Okay. So anyway, let's get right into the festivities from SnarkAlec fantasy football. Now, no one.
Oh, come on. You all right?
Did you start another hangout?
I must have because I got kicked off.
Well, it said it's taking too long to connect to the video call. Try again in a few minutes. And so I'm going to see if I can, because I was wired in, and I've never had a problem being wired in before. So I'm going to hit the try again button and see if I can get back in. If not, I'll go back out and see if I can restart.
It still says live, which is weird.
Yeah, it may, because right now I'm looking at you from my phone.
Yeah, I can see it looks a little different. Yeah.
That's what happens if I do that. Hey, look at that. Now I'm sideways.
Do you just want to resend and restart a new one, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna resend and restart a new one. Let me do that. I will see you momentarily.
Okay, I'll X myself out.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I might be
I
here.
think I might be.
I am definitely here, and I'm on my phone too. That's awesome. Okay. So, and this is going to freak me out if I got to listen to this all night long. So, bear with me, people, if you're still watching. I have to invite Dylan back in. And invite is posted for Dylan. And we're going to get started. Yeah, so I don't know if it was a problem with me. May have been me. So
I can't see
it's
you.
working better now.
Oh, there we go. Now I can see you.
What the hell happened here? And that's my phone. So that guy that looks like my Twitter thing, and that will go away. I can't bounce it though, because then I might just chuck myself out of the Hangout.
Yeah, that's not a big
So
deal. Okay.
we were about to. Yeah.
We're still live though, right? We're still
You want to
airing.
know something? It may have been me, because I was wired in, and I don't know if my network connection was not good, my wired network connection. So I'm wireless now, and it's all right. The route is right there. So doesn't make a difference. I'm close enough to it. Anyway, we're going to talk about SnarkAlec fantasy football. And
we are live, right? Because I see the sign.
yeah, it says I have a live thing here. It says live at the top, and if I hit stop broadcast, we'll stop. And the two people that might be watching, if they haven't fallen asleep yet. But anyway, don't want to spend too much time on it. But the winner and new champion is Sean.
Yay, crunch chops.
And going into the well, for most of the season, Sean and Doc Zeke, Jim, pretty much dominated, and there was a lot of fighting back in the pack. But I think I have to take a look. I can't remember where Kelly finished. Do you remember where he finished?
I can actually find out for you real quick. I think he was in the middle of the pack. I think he was.
I thought he was better than that. I thought he was at least in third place or something like that.
Okay, let me see here.
There was 12. There was 12 people in the league.
Yeah. Okay.
12
so
teams.
Here's how it goes. We've got Crunch Hops was first. Jim Gegenlines was second. Dawn, my lovely wife Dawn, was third. Fourth was Scott Flying Monkeys. Fifth was myself. Sixth was Mr. Tony Solo. Seventh was AJ. Eighth was Mandy. Ninth was Jen. Actually, sounds like he's in pretty bad shape. 10th was Janica. Kelly was 11th of 12. So, and then 12th
Yeah,
place
and I knew
was
he was
Mel.
11th.
Yeah.
That was kind of. kind of a rhetorical question there.
Okay.
I knew he was all the way in the back. But yeah, it was pretty interesting because there's two playoff brackets, and it works just like regular football, where the top seeded team plays the lowest seeded team, and then the winner goes on to play uh, the next the winner of the next nested teams. And Dylan and I were in the consolation bracket. So Dylan, you went in number 8, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So Dylan went in number 8, and he jumped to the 5th spot. I went in at the 6th spot. I played AJ, who was in the 7th spot. I beat him. So in the last game of the year, I played Dylan. And if I would have won, I guess, Dylan, I guess I would have gone to the 5th spot, and maybe you would have gone to 6.
I would have been 6th. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So basically, I beat the number 17, and I played the number 18 after that, and I stayed in 6th place, which makes me want to scratch my head a little bit. It was funny because when I saw the way, I was like, okay, so I beat AJ, but I still ended up in 6th place. So I didn't go anywhere. The big loser was Mandy, because right up until the last week, I think she was in the 4th spot. Prior to the playoffs, or it may have been the week before.
It might have been the week before, because she had been slowly fading a little bit. She had a huge run at the beginning. She was had a big jump at the front, and then she started to fade. I guess maybe this was a weird NFL season. A lot of her studs got injured and stuff like that, and she had to start digging in to the second and third stringers that she had to pull out, and they sort of didn't do it for her. But then she started to fade a little bit. Yeah, but she was closer for a while. Yeah.
If you look at her points against, though, she got awful lucky too at the beginning of the year. She played not that well. We were in the tougher division, you and I and Dawn. Okay. And because I think only 2 teams out of the 8 teams that made the playoffs came out of Mandy's division.
Yeah, I might have to switch that up next year. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. But her points against, she got lucky. Like, she'd score 110 points, and the team that she'd play, could have been having an off week, scored 75. And then the week before they were scoring 150, and the week after they scored 150, and she just kind of at the beginning, like she beat me at the beginning of the season, but my team didn't start getting better until the end. I mean, I finished off with a 5-game winning streak.
Blake Bortles, baby. Blake Bortles was kicking ass for you.
Blake Bortles and Brandon Marshall, and Adrian Peterson. Like, when it comes to certain players, okay, you could go in and you could look to see who you're playing and what they say he's going to do against that team. Well, this team is really good against the run. Don't play Adrian Peterson. No, there is no situation when you have Adrian Peterson or Brandon Marshall on your team where you're not going to start them unless they are injured. It's the same thing with Ben Roethlisberger or Tom Brady. Okay. And the problem is, if you live by Tom Brady, you die by Tom Brady. And the Patriots, last couple of games, they got beat up, and they've been beat up. So coming into this bye week here for them, they need this bye. Yeah. They need to get some people healthy, and they need to rub some ointment on and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, it has been a crazy season. I mean, when you look at what happened last week in Seattle, and because we're not even going to talk about my team, okay? But when you look at Seattle going in and dominating the Cardinals, who would have thought that was going to happen?
I know, exactly. I thought the Cardinals would not destroy them, but at least would beat them pretty good, because the Cardinals have been really good this year.
And it looks like without your wife's number one running back there most of the season, they look like a mediocre team. They even got beat at home, which is like the first time it happened in 7 or 8 seasons, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting playoff. But I want to ask you because by the time we do our next news, it'll be right after the Super Bowl, and actually right at the beginning of Walking Dead too. So, you want to make any prediction
For the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Let me see. It's really hard right now with the NFC. I've got 2 favorites. I got Carolina and Arizona. I think it's Carolina's year, though. I think Carolina is going to the Super Bowl this year. And I'm loath to say this. I am so loath to say this, but Pittsburgh.
No way. Not going to happen.
Pittsburgh is hot right now, and I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl this year because.
How could they be hot, dude? They lost to the Ravens. They won 1 game against the Browns. That's not hot.
The last couple of weeks, though, they've been beaten up on a lot of teams. I just think they're entering on a hot streak right now because let's look at the facts. Okay, the Patriots, Brady's injured, so he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna have any magic left in him. I mean, to pull him out, his team is lousy anyway. He's got Gronkowski. That's really about it. Denver has a quarterback problem. Peyton Manning comes in, does pretty good, but is that going to happen in the playoffs? At this point, I don't know. He might not even start. They're talking Brock might start. Cincinnati has never won a game in the playoffs. They've gone like the last 6 years. They've never won a game. They've always lost their first game. They're one and done. And they don't even have Andy Dalton. Now, could A.J. McCarron change that for him? Maybe, but it's A.J. McCarron. I don't believe that. The Texans, no. No. The Chiefs, no. And that leaves the Steelers. So the only thing that might be maybe Denver could pull it out, but I still think it's going to be Steelers Panthers. That's what I think. I'm loath to say it.
I would put my money if I was going to pick 2 teams from the AFC, and I'll do the same thing on the other side because I like the 2 teams that you picked. But there's something else that's going on too. So AFC, they've got the bye week, which, like I mentioned, helped them a lot. Because they are dinged up. They were losing linemen. They were losing guys. I mean, they had 20 ambulances on standby after that Jet game. And then they went into Miami, and they couldn't win in Miami either. And that's pretty pathetic at this point. But with the bye week and giving them some chance to heal up, who's Pittsburgh playing?
They're playing Cincinnati.
They're playing Cincinnati. That's a rivalry game. That's going to be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing about Denver, though. A lot of talk about Manning and his foot. He comes into the game, and guess what? Denver all of a sudden, and it's not like when Manning came in, it's not like he dominated, but his presence made the running game start to work because they had the fear of Manning throwing the ball, which is, when he actually, how does a quarterback help the running game? Well, he helps the running game by making the other team have to pay attention to your air game, to your passing game. And that's what he brought to the table. They're a different team if he's playing and he's playing well, but they got to catch the ball. They can't drop it. But yeah, I don't know if the Steelers are going to make it through. If they make it to the AFC Championship game, I'd be surprised. But I mean, the 3 teams that would be, if I was going to pick 3, it would be Steelers, Broncos, and Patriots. But I think it's going to be Patriots and Broncos vying for that spot. And whoever they play against is going to beat them because I think Carolina, Arizona,
and Seattle.
And let's see what happens with Seattle. Yeah, we have to see what happens because you can't count Seattle out because they seem to be the team that I think is kind of peaking now. I mean, now if you want to start playing good ball, like the Jets were starting to get onto a roll, and I can't believe And for the Jets, their loss, you lay it all on
Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick's
Mhm.
hand. I was going to say at his feet, but at his hand, because he threw two freaking picks. One was an interception in the end zone. The other one stopped the drive where the Jets would have gotten into the end zone. So, yeah, I would have liked the Jets had they pulled that game out and won, because the Jets have a pretty decent defense. And that
Yeah, they were
helps
peaking.
out.
I mean,
But
they were doing really
anyway,
good up to that
that's
point.
enough
Yeah.
talk about football. We probably lost all our viewers at this point.
Heck with them. The only thing, one more thing I'm going to say real quick is that Seattle Minnesota game should be really interesting. It's in Minnesota, and the temperature's going to be -degrees. So
yes, that's the other thing
to watch.
that I was mentioning was that, yeah, I was watching the news earlier, and when they were talking about the all of the rain and those big storms that are coming in across California, they're talking about that cold snap, and they did mention that would probably be the coldest NFL game ever played. So that's I mean, there's some good football coming up, so I'm looking forward to it. And hey, the next time we get together and talk, it'll be post Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so out of all the teams in the NFL, I think Dylan and I agree, for the most part, possible Patriots, Broncos, and Steelers. Two of those three teams are going to the AFC Championship game, probably. And then on the NFC side, there's not going to be any Redskins.
Well, no, I think they're going to be the Packers, but they're going to get destroyed by Arizona. So,
wow, you think?
Yeah, I think they do because the Packers aren't the Packers. They have lost like 7 straight games or something like that, or they've been in the last 10 games they've been 3-7, and they're not playing up to as they were. I mean, the first half of the year you're like, oh damn, they're undefeated, they're fantastic, and all of a sudden like that, no, Aaron Rodgers ain't throwing anything. I think his line is weak because he's getting sacked a lot, he's getting hurried a lot, and he's not making the throws and the passes, stuff like that. The Redskins are hot right now. Cousins is insane when he's in Washington, which is where they're playing the game at. I think they get past the Packers, but they are not beating the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to annihilate them. Or the Panthers, whoever they end up playing, whoever else wins the other game, the lower seed plays the higher seed. So, and then the point is, I think, and you and I agree with this, regardless, whoever goes to Super Bowl, the NFC is going to win it.
Yeah, I think
sorry,
so.
There's no.
I think so.
I would put a ton of money on the NFC team, be it Carolina or Arizona or Seattle. I would they're just the better division this year. And
listen, I think if you got all of the coaches that got fired so far this year, you put uniforms on them and said that they were the NFC champs and made them play any of the AFC teams. I'm talking Tom Coughlin is your quarterback,
Lovie Smith's your running back.
I was actually going to go with what's his name from the Eagles?
Chip Kelly, yeah.
Chip Kelly. I was going to go with Chip Kelly as running back.
That makes more sense, actually, yeah.
Because he's a little bit shorter and squatter. And they are going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, so I just want to point out that my evil twin Skippy was actually controlling my phone earlier. For those people that were wondering what the hell was going on, don't know what was actually going on. But anyway, so let's move on.
Yes. We got the football out of our way, and now let's do some other stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so I wanted to mention I am now watching, for those of you that have Netflix, I am now watching Torchwood, which is a spin-off show from Doctor Who. And have you seen Torchwood, Dylan?
I have not, but it is on my Netflix queue, so I'm going to check it out eventually once I get my moving on my Doctor Who.
I definitely love it. However, it is a totally different show than what I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be, um, I'm going to say, in my opinion, um, there has always been a sense of whimsy around Doctor Who. Even though they do go into some very deep and dark places in that show. Um, Torchwood has none of the whimsy, um, and more of the darkness, and they go into it's a totally different flavor, um, from Doctor Who. It's got a lot of the same elements, but it's different and it's good. And how could you not like Captain Jack Harkness? You know, uh, he is that character for the most part has a love-hate relationship with Doctor Who. He seems to like Doctor Who, and Doctor Who always seems to dump on him. Um, and it's very interesting so far. So I'm about 5 or 6 episodes into the first season, and I'm enjoying it because um, uh, this is kind of almost a segue to our last segment. But I did not realize that the Christmas special was in theaters, the Doctor Who Christmas special,
Okay.
until I went to the movies to see Star Wars, and it was still up there. And I looked at my daughter and I said, you know, if I would have known this is happening, I would have bought a ticket for the Doctor Who Christmas special. I would have seen that, and then you could have just come here and met me, and we could have gone in to see Star Wars together. Because they all the night when we went, I think it was near the end of the run, because they were only showing it once, and my daughter was like, "Oh yeah, they were showing it like 3 or 4 times a night." I was like, "Yeah." Now you tell me. So, I was actually, I went on Netflix because I'm wondering, okay, when is this thing going to pop up? Because it always pops up on Netflix eventually. And I found Torchwood, and I was like, okay, yeah, let me watch this. So, hey, if you've got Netflix, I would suggest um, that you start watching it because it is pretty cool. It's dark. It's vulgar. It's got it goes a lot farther than Doctor Who goes in um, so many different ways. I like it. It's different.
It's what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard, especially when you get near the end when they start doing the mini series, like the Children's of Earth and stuff like that, was a deep, dark mini series. I heard like the last bit of Torchwood that comes out is one of the darkest things that's ever been seen. I think is what they said. Showed up on Stars. That's why the BBC didn't air it. I think it was on Stars when they aired that. So because they had they had like Bill Pullman from Independence Day, and they had a few other American actors in it as well. So definitely something I want to check out.
Yeah, and I love it because when there's not anything on TV, I mean, starting next week there will be because we'll have Face Off. We'll talk about that in a second. But there's nothing. I mean, I'm sorry, people. I'm not watching The Expanse because it's a 10 o'clock show. And if I sit down and start watching the show that starts at 10 o'clock, by about 10:15 or 10:20, I'm sleeping. So I'll wait until they build up on my DVR, and then I'll binge it one day. But right now, I'm not watching The Expanse. A lot of people are loving it. But I am looking forward to The Magicians, because I did watch that first episode that they showed a couple of weeks ago. And that looks pretty good. I just hope it's not on at 10 o'clock. See, I can do 10 o'clock on Friday, but I can't do 10 o'clock on during the week.
I think they said, let me see, the 25th is when it airs. So that is a Monday. I think it's Monday, like 10 o'clock. I think it is 10 o'clock.
Oh,
to be honest. I don't know that. I'm 100% sure. I'm not 100% certain about that. But you know what else is coming up? I think very soon is 12 Monkeys season 2 will be showing up soon too.
Yeah, I know that's coming, and I'm looking forward to that. But you see, I just hope they keep it on Friday, because I like having a Friday show, and they need to fill that Z Nation void. And I really wish they would do something like AMC does, and take off 12 Monkeys, and then when 12 Monkeys is done, Z Nation comes back, and then find another show like The Magicians or something that's good and put it in that slot and just keep on, always having a new show in there, not doing repeats, not showing crappy movies and stuff.
Right.
There's a movie on Saturday, this coming Saturday, called Shark something. Shark Week,
It's
not
Beach,
Shark.
right? Shark Beach,
Shark
right?
Night. No, Shark Night.
Oh, Shark Night. Okay.
Um, it's not a sci-fi original. It's kind of snarkable. I'll check it out for a little while, and see if anybody's watching. If not,
Well, no, I think we should. I mean, Shark Night is right up our wheelhouse. Scott McDonald's
there's definitely girls in bathing suits. Definitely people to hate. Villains and stuff. Catherine McPhee or whatever from that you love, Dylan.
I'm sorry, I hate her with a passion. Always have, even since American Idol days. Ugh.
And the dude from Gotham, who plays Gordon's partner.
Okay.
I can't remember the character's name.
It's yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
He's in it too. Donald something or other is his
Logue or something like that. Yeah. Donald Logue or something. Yeah.
So it should be good, but Sci-Fi is moving to Wednesdays, which is okay by me.
Face Off, you mean, is Face Off is, yeah.
Did I say?
You said Sci-Fi. You said Sci-Fi.
Yeah, Sci-Fi. They're moving everything. They're not going to have any other shows or anything. The whole network is just moving to Wednesday. Face Off is moving to Wednesday, which is a big move for them because, Wednesday always used to be their paranormal day, and I guess their paranormal shows aren't doing well, or I don't know, but they seem to have gotten out of some of that stuff, and I'm just wondering what they're going to do to top some of the craziness, because they had some pretty sick things that they did this season. Some of them I liked and some of them I didn't, but to keep it fresh, you got to do different things. I do like it was near the end when they had when they made them do the short little film, and they had
finale,
no, not the finale. It wasn't this before the finale when they did they had them create a hero and a villain, and then a third character.
That was the finale.
That was the finale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like that. I like the finale. I liked more than that, though.
Because remember when they did the hero and the villain, and then the third guy, I forget his name, who came in third, I think. He had a terrible time, and then he's like, "I'm just glad I was able to squeak by." And then they said, "Oh no, you got to do another character." He's like, "Oh really?" That's going to match up with the other one, so he had to fix all that up. So, but yeah, no, they had a lot of good interesting stuff this year, and I think something jumped out at me when they showed the preview at the end of the season last season about this upcoming season, like something big is coming. Maybe is Pee Wee Herman going to be on the show or something for an episode, or it looks kind of interesting with some of the stuff that they keep saying it's going to be bigger and better, and it's going to be hard, as you said. How they're going to top themselves, who knows? But that's why you watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of watch because there's a little bit of drama between some of the characters and stuff. Not a lot, but I mean, I've been watching Face Off for about I can't say 7 or 8 years, because they're doing 2 seasons a year. Like they do the winter version, and then they do the one that starts in the summer and kind of works its way to about Halloween time. It starts like August time.
Yeah.
Which is great. The move to Wednesday is good because I don't have any chauffeur duties on Wednesdays, so it fits with my schedule right now.
Yeah, it does with us too because Noel has basketball on Tuesdays. So, and that's granted 7 to 8, but still, 8 o'clock, and then they get them ready for bed. And by the time you get them all ready for bed, it's like just about 9 or past 9 o'clock. So.
Right. And you sit down and you miss the first couple of minutes and you feel like you're already lost because, but the nice thing about Face Off, and one of the things I love it is like, they have the first part of the show and, like, which is kind of like the like they reveal the challenge and then the design phase. And then they go to molding. And then when they go, to well, they do their clay shit. And then when they go to molding, it's like, okay, once you get to the molding part, you know exactly where you are in the show because you know how it's going to proceed from there. Um, but I really like the judges too. Even Glenn, like I used to think, like Glenn used to kind of be like the Simon Cowell of Face Off. But he's kind of grown on me. Like they've actually tried to put him in a better light, I guess. It doesn't help him that he always wears black and he looks like he just stuck his finger in a light socket or something. Um, but I'm sure he's a really nice guy in person. I shouldn't be, you
Well,
know.
and what else I like about too is that even when they have their guest judges, the guest judges are able to make some valid points and good criticisms and stuff like that. And I like that as well because sometimes you just have have a guest judge, and then just like, oh yeah, that's great, But these people they make some good points about certain. I mean, we don't see everything because we don't. It would take forever if we watched everything that they said about everybody. They just pick and choose and edit here and there, but
Mhm.
still, the fact that they do show some of the stuff that they say, and they're actually very lucid and very good and very good examples of judging them. So
Yeah.
hurrah for that too.
And to tell you the truth, and with competition shows, I'm gonna use American Idol as an example, and I'll use Face Off. Um, I think what the people in the audience hear is not the same thing that the people at home hear. Only because I have heard some stuff coming through my TV set that sounded like cats fighting, and seeing the reaction of the people there giving them a standing ovation and saying that that was good, and like I didn't hear it, or you know it was all right. I wouldn't stand up for that, but okay. And same thing with Face Off. What I see on my screen, it's got to look a hell of a lot different and better in person, or a lot worse than it looks to me. Because sometimes I've seen something like, I like that. Personal opinion, I like that. Oh, the proportions are wrong, and this is wrong, and that's wrong, and okay. I guess you're the professional and you know what you're talking about. And my eyeballs to my brain connection and my ears to my head don't count. So, but for the most part, I mean, when somebody is doing a really good job, you can tell when it's good. And then there's preference comes into it, Hey, I don't like that thing that you did because it was all purple, you know. But yes, so starting Wednesdays, we will get Face Off again,
Yep,
which
next
is
Wednesday. Yep.
yeah, which could be a problem though for me because I believe it might come on at the same time as Empire. And that means I might be relegated to the basement for Face Off because
Yeah, it would be 9 o'clock. Yeah.
everybody else in my house watches Empire. Not that I don't, but I'd never admit to it if I did watch Empire. Only
Nice.
because I don't fit the demographic, you know, uh,
Absolutely.
for that show. But we have talked about Face Off, and we are moving along. And I just want to take a quick look at Twitter because somebody may have tweeted at me and my phone's off.
The only thing I saw so far, Scotty said something to us all, to both of us. He said Jaws 2 is on Sci-Fi tomorrow at 9 if we're interested.
Ah, tomorrow at 9.
Yeah.
Jaws 2. Chip Kelly, what's that? Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing on Chiller, if there's nothing on Chiller, I might check that out, Scotty, if you're still there. Um, but spoiler alert, big spoiler alert. Um, we're gonna talk about Star Wars now and The Force Awakens. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want it spoiled for you, please leave. We'll give you a couple of seconds to get out. Um, so you had a family day when you went to go see it.
We did. We went Christmas weekend. So it was like, I think, the 26th or 27th. 26th. We went on the 26th Sunday. So we didn't go exactly when it came out because of Christmas week and stuff like that. But we thought, I we wanted to we Don and I wanted to see it, and we thought the kids would enjoy it because they went through a Star Wars phase earlier in 2015 that they sort of seem to have grown out of. But we thought they might like to go see a Star Wars movie, and we wanted to go see it. And then we saw PG-13. It's like, okay. So I talked to some people who had seen it, that opening week, and said, hey, my kids 6 and 9 going to go see Star Wars. It's PG-13. Do you think, is it appropriate for them? We could have, sure, Dawn and I could have gone and seen it, and then we could have gone out with them again. But I think because of timing, stuff like that, we just wanted to do it all at one time, and we hadn't set up babysitting and stuff like that. So we got some good feedback from a lot of people, and so there might be one or two scenes that might be rough for them. But in the end, we said, okay, we'll do it. So we went, we saw it in 3D. It was a pretty good time to see it because it wasn't really a full house. So that was pretty good. When did you see it? You saw it recently, right?
I saw it the week after Christmas. Actually, last Tuesday, I saw it. So it was a couple of days after Christmas, before New Year, and the theater was packed. I wanted to try and because Brianna's home from college, and she's the one that said we have to have a Star Wars marathon because she wanted to go see the new movie, and I think there may be a boy as a reason for her wanting to see the movie. I don't know, um, but so we binged all of them because I'd never pushed Star Wars on the girls, and they never expressed any kind of interest. But um, we watched all the movies, and to tell you the truth, it's been a while since I watched episodes 1, 2, and 3, and for some reason, maybe because I knew it was coming, but Jar Jar did not bother me as much as he did when the movie first came out. I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of Star Wars fans that really don't like episodes 1, 2, and 3, and I don't understand why. I mean, if you want to find out what the backstory to Darth Vader is, that's where you find it. You know, um, where how you got to episode 4, which a lot of people complain about. Like some people say, and this is universally known in Star Wars uh, circles, that episode 4 and 5, Star Wars: A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, are the two best movies. And then you had Return of the Jedi, which a lot of people didn't like too much, and I think maybe because of the Ewoks, and all that forest stuff. Then you had Jar Jar Binks, but the funny thing is, Jar Jar Binks was hated, and he was in the second movie, but like he was there, like he was in the background a lot, but didn't talk. Um, then you get to the third movie, and the third movie is so dark and so, I mean, if you haven't seen those movies, go watch them. And you can't watch episode number 3 without watching 1 and 2 because you got to see what the progression is. But okay, spoiler alert, people. if you haven't seen the movie, turn it off. Okay. Um, there's a Jedi temple, and Anakin goes into the Jedi temple and kills all the kids there. And it is one of the darkest things. It was like, at the end, I was like, what? I hated it, but they had to do it. They had to make you hate him. They had to show you where he went. But having said that, the version of A New Hope that I have, Star Wars A New Hope, is one of the newer versions. So there were things that were done to the movie that people hate, and I was able to pick some of the things out. They put some funny, whimsical stuff in. But at the end, at the end of the Return of the Jedi, they changed the movie there too. So there's a bunch of little things that I saw that I was like, damn, damn, because I mean, some of these movies let's say, recently acquired, and they are the newer versions, and because they're the newer versions, they were digitally altered from their originals, and they took Darth Vader out, the actor who played Darth Vader, not his voice, out of Return of the Jedi. Was it Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, it was. It was the guy who played Darth Vader when he has redeemed himself and Luke unmasked him. His actor's name is Sebastian Shaw. In the original version of Return of the Jedi, his Force ghost appears as older Anakin Skywalker, and what they decided to do, Tony, go ahead and finish the story.
Was they put the actor who played Anakin at the end of that, and the thing is, that's not what he looked like when he died. Okay. But they did that so there was some continuity. I mean, when you watch the movies the way I did, with my daughter, we watched them in the order in which they were produced. So we watched them 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, which is the order in which, they came out. And there's some inconsistencies and things that they talk about that it's like, when C3PO or even R2D2 from more, because C3PO, okay, was built on Tatooine. Okay, he was built by Anakin Skywalker. He was Darth Vader's. Okay, how could he not remember ever being to Tatooine?
Well, so I think Jimmy Smits has a throwaway line in Revenge of the Sith #3 that says "wipe their memories," including talking about C3PO and R2D2. Yeah. But that's kind of dumb, though. Yeah. I'll tell you. Here's one of my continuity errors that drives me absolutely bonkers. That the prequel showed that makes what they said in Return of the Jedi obsolete. There's a talk, once again, spoilers for haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies. We find out that Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia are brother and sister. And there's a sequence when they're at the Ewok village, when Luke knows he has to go and face Darth Vader, who's his father, and he knows Leia's his sister. And then Leia comes out to talk to him, to comfort him, because they're friends. And they start talking about their families. It's like, do you remember your mother? Luke asks, and like Leia's like, well, a little bit. She seemed, sad, but but quiet, beautiful, but sad, or something like that. And then Luke's like, I have no memory of my mother. And then backtrack it to Revenge of the Sith, when Luke and Leia are born, their mother dies. So how can Leia say that her mother was sad and beautiful, unless she's talking about her adoptive mother? But even then, it makes it sound like she's talking about her real mom, who's dead when she gives birth to them.
Right. Yeah. No, you see, I had the same thought process because I picked that out too. Um, uh, she was pretty but sad. And I think at one point, the senator that adopted her, at one point, like he makes a mention that his wife died or something like that. Um, but um, with the two droids and because we're gonna start getting into the Force Awakens a little bit. Um, do you like where they went with the movie, as far as, because there are some people who feel like this is just a rehash of the first movie. Um,
Yeah, it is. What they call it, a it's not lazy rewrite, 'cause it's actually pretty good, but I always like using the phrase lazy rewrite. It's basically a lazy rewrite of the New Hope. But that being said, I liked Force Awakens, and yeah, it does have the general same beats you hit. Young person on a desert planet discovers their Jedi, goes and has to stop the bad guys, and then you've got your roguish character, but then and then you got your droids, and you've got face-offs between the bad guys and good guys, and then you've got a giant star base that has to be destroyed, or they're going to destroy your planet. So there's a lot of A New Hope in The Force Awakens, but I think that was done deliberately because it had been so long, and because so many people do hate the prequels, that J.J. Abrams wanted to maybe remind people how good the series can be. And let's face facts also. Phantom Menace, if you think about it, which I believe is what you were talking about also, is underrated. Yeah, if you can ignore Jar Jar, like you can do, it doesn't seem to bother you. It's actually not a bad movie. Yeah, there are some aspects to it I don't like, but if you look at it in the long bit, Liam Neeson's awesome, Darth Maul's awesome, Ewan McGregor's awesome. It's a good story, but it's got some similar beats as well. Granted, there's a little bit more to it, but still, you don't have a giant thing that's going to destroy a planet, but you still have young Anakin going in and destroying the ships that are surrounding Naboo, so to save the day. Then they get the medals at the end and stuff like that. So basically, he's just saying, this is the first round of a new trilogy, so we're going to follow a similar story progression, but he made enough changes to it that it seems fresh. Now, also, and let's face facts, it's made a ton of money. The other movie that made a ton of money last year was Jurassic World, which has also been called a lazy rewrite of Jurassic Park, which it is. But again, it's still entertaining enough, and there's enough different beats in it and different things in there that you get a feeling that you're seeing something different, even though they follow the same beats. And let's face it, there are only so many stories you can tell, and you're going to rehash some things here and there. But I think they did a very good job of setting up the upcoming trilogy, and I'm expecting the next two movies to be completely different than Empire and Return of the Jedi. What do you think?
okay. Well, I think, first off, BB-8 thing is amazing. Okay. And they actually sell, you can buy one of those. There's one that's about the size of a softball, that's about $150. And then there's one that's smaller, it's about maybe a little bit bigger than a golf ball. And the $150 one, there's an Android app that you can use your phone to control it with, as a remote. And it does some funky things. Like I was watching a video online where, the famous scene in A New Hope when R2D2 is projecting the hologram of Leia as she's putting the plans in the robot. You can make a video, right? And if you look at the robot through your phone, it will show, like, you can make a recording and it will show the recording of you, the video portion, next to the Android, projected as a hologram.
Oh,
So
very cool.
yeah, so you're looking at the at the little droid through your phone. It's playing the recording, and when you look at it through your phone, you see the hologram.
Okay.
There's no hologram.
Yeah,
But
in actuality, but still, that's cool.
um, the other thing I had to do was I had to see how this thing worked. I was like, there's no way that this really works. And sure enough, they take it apart and they show you how it works. So, spoiler alert, people, it's a ball, okay? And inside the ball is another ball that has wheels on it. And when those wheels turn, the ball on the outside turns in the opposite direction of the direction that the wheels turn. So it actually does roll along. But then there's that headpiece. How does that always stay on top? There's a gyroscope in there that keeps it balanced. But here goes the beautiful thing. There's some magnets at the top of the thing, and the headpiece has wheels on it too, and it has a magnet. So the magnet connects it to the ball, and as the ball is spinning under it, it always stays on top because the magnets always stay straight up, or they wobble a little bit, but just so much. So the headpiece always stays on top of the magnets, even if it's, tilting. So it gives you that appearance that the ball is rolling because the ball is rolling and the top piece doesn't move. It's brilliant,
That's awesome.
and it can be yours for $150. There's a $39 version too that has a little remote, and it does the same stuff except for the hologram stuff. But yeah, so um I shared this on Twitter, and I've seen all the movies. I just saw all the movies again, newer versions from what I grew up in, and I was like, "You want to know something? I don't like this." I mean, um, I used to love Star Wars, but in The Empire Strikes Back, um, and Return of the Jedi, when Luke goes to rescue Han from Jabba the Hutt, that whole first part of the movie, I love it. It is phenomenal. The only problem I have with that movie is if within the same couple of days, if you watch A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and you see how much older Luke looks from the first movie to the last one, there is a big difference in how much. A little bit with Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford looks exactly the same. Okay, and Harrison Ford in the new movie, he looks like an older version of Harrison Ford, but he doesn't look as bad as Luke did at the end of Return of the Jedi. Unfortunately, this movie is really dark. Um, as far as what they do, and there's a major spoiler that I'm probably not going to talk about, but there's one character that doesn't make it through the movie, and it was a shock to me. And there might be some people that look for spoilers and stuff. I avoided anything, typing in anything Star Wars. I saw anything with the Star Wars logo or that said Star Wars, I clicked it off. Don't want to know. Don't want to, because um, I knew this movie was going to be a little bit controversial to the fact that either Star Wars fans are going to love it or hate it. And some people said, like we talked about earlier, that it was a rehash. I didn't get that. Like, I was really intrigued with the new characters they added, Ray and Finn. I was just expecting him to pull out a chainsaw. When they started calling him Finn, I was like, okay, get a chainsaw, get the sharks, they're coming at you. But for the most part, two fresh new faces, and then we get to see our some of our old friends, and as they came in, um, you know, I sat down in the theater with my daughter, and we got there half an hour early. Theater filled up real quick. And we saw a plane, no 3D, no IMAX. It filled up, and we sat down, get through the previews, and then as soon as the lights got dark, as soon as the crawl started going across the top of the screen, I got chills and I felt like a kid again. And when you can get me into a movie theater, first of all, it's got to be, I don't go to the movies that often. I watch everything at home. I'll wait a couple of months. It'll come out on DVD or whatever. It'll be on demand somewhere, or it'll hit Netflix. You know, Eventually I'll get to it, but with Star Wars, no. And I sat down, and like I said, as soon as I saw those words going across the top of the screen, I felt like a kid. And no movie has ever done that to me, where, part of it was nostalgia and part of it was anticipation. But I got to tell you, I loved it, from start to finish. You could nitpick everything. There was a couple of things, here and there, but for the most part, I was like, J.J. Abrams hit it out of the park. I think, my opinion, I think he hit it out of the park. I think he got the feeling of the Star Wars universe. Because one of the things that always amazed me is that they've got all of these high-tech gadgets, but they always put them in low-tech situations. Being out in the desert, people are collecting scrap things out of, I guess, fallen Imperial starships and stuff, and, bringing that back to get food and stuff. Amazing. And then once the movie started kicking in, and we started flying places, it was, they got the feel of the characters. I mean, the Han Solo character was Han Solo. Chewbacca was Chewbacca. The droids were the droids. Leia was Leia. Intrigued by the new menace that's in the universe. So we'll have to see how this is going to play out. And the big question everybody has is, who is Rey? And after I saw the movie, I started looking for information. And the Star Wars universe is very big. And there's been a lot of books, and I've never read any of the books because I did not feel that I would get anything out of the books. I didn't want to tarnish the movies for me ever, so I never read them. And if you type in Star Wars genealogy and you go look for charts, there's hundreds and hundreds of people who have come up with a family tree for the Skywalkers and stuff. And most of the stuff that you'll find online won't even apply here. Because in some of the books, Han and Leia have 3 or 4 kids, at least 2, depending on which author you go by. And these are all approved books. They didn't just.
Well, there's one thing about that. They were approved before Disney bought the rights to them. When Disney bought the rights to Star Wars, they said none of those books, none of those comics like that matters. This is what the storyline is going to be from this point on. So now all the new books that come out now, the new comic books, the new movies, they're all canon. And the only things that are canon now that came out before, the 6 movies, the Clone Wars cartoon, and the Rebels cartoon, which is going right now. Those are all considered canon now, where all these other ones with Han and Leia with 3 or 4 different kids, and Chewbacca dying, and because he gets killed in a book, but he's spoiler, he's still alive at the end of this one.
Yeah.
And Luke getting married and having a family also, and all this stuff, it doesn't apply anymore. Can they nitpick and pick and choose what they like from that? Sure, they can, and they might. We're going to find out in the new trilogy. But for now, any books that come out now, from now on, any comic books from now on, those are strictly canon. The ones that
Right.
came out
They'll
before,
be approved.
unfortunately, not.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the time when those books came
Right.
out, they were all approved, and they could do whatever they want. And these are the faction in the Star Wars universe that are into the movies and the books, that are all hissy about things changing. And it's, you could take that, and you could look at what J.J. Abrams did to Star Trek, where, okay, we've seen a whole bunch of Star Trek movies. Okay. When J.J. Abrams did the reboot, okay, the way he did it, it's an alternate future, because in the original Star Trek universe, even with the movies that came out with they came out with afterwards, okay, Vulcan did not get destroyed. Okay, Vulcan has been destroyed. Um, any Vulcan that's still alive is a Vulcan that was not on the planet Vulcan at the time that it was destroyed. So he gave himself and gave anybody free reign to write anything that they want from that time forward, because it is a different reality, because of the time travel thing that happened there.
And I love that. That's the best way to do a reboot. If you have to do reboot, that's the best way to do it in my eyes.
Yeah. Now, it's a phenomenal reboot. Star Trek. Love those movies. Not as big a fan of the second one,
right?
As I was of the first. But we'll see when number 3 comes out. That one should, okay, we did Khan. We don't need to revisit old characters, in the new universe. Let's do something different, I hope.
Have you seen the first trailer yet?
I have not.
Okay, I'll just tell you, it looks different. It looks pretty interesting. It looks, I think it looks really awesome, and it's coming out in July of this year. So I'm actually looking forward to that. So hopefully, and J.J. Abrams, I think, is just producing it. The guy who did like some of the Fast and Furious movies, I think James Wan is the director this time around. So
yeah, well, the action sequences in the first 2 films were phenomenal. With some of the things that they had these guys doing. So it can only get better. But Star Wars is it's poised to be one of, and here goes the thing. What a lot of people don't realize is, you can talk J.J. Abrams, you can talk James Cameron. How come nobody's talking Harrison Ford? Okay. Harrison Ford was in Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and The Force Awakens. Okay. He was also in the Indiana Jones series. He was Indiana Jones. He was also Jack Ryan in 3 or 4 films that were very, very high grossing action type films. The guy's had a career where if he's in your movie, it's almost guaranteed to be a $1 billion movie, So, unfortunately, I don't know how much we're going to see of him in the following films, but I think it was well done and really interesting.
no, I mean, I agree. Also, you didn't mention Poe. Poe is another interesting. He's taking the kind of the Han Solo-esque type of role to it. Finn is an amalgam of characters, and I love Finn. Finn's actually Dawn's favorite character, and I really like Finn a lot too. I like Rey too. I think all the new characters are really good. And hey, you know what? Our boy, fellow SnarkAlec, also Greg Grunberg. Yeah, Did you see him in there?
I saw him in there, and you want to something? I was like, oh, they put him in this thing. I mean, why don't you put friggin' what's his name? Um
Will
Will
Smith.
from
Oh no.
no annoying fucking asshole dude. Um oh, I can't remember his Will Wheaton.
Oh,
Put
okay.
Will Wheaton in it. Okay. Um and I'll tell you, I mean, um they were going through DVR. Not the DVR, they were going through on demand because they were looking for Big Bang Theory. Okay. And um they did they did their Star Wars show where they went to the movies to go see Star Wars. And Sheldon did not go because it was his girlfriend's birthday, and he decided that he was not going to go to see Star Wars with his friends. That he was going to spend her birthday with her, and they were about to give the ticket away. Do you watch The Big Bang Theory?
No, I don't. I
No.
should though.
Um, it's. I told my daughter, I was like, listen, you need to watch Star Wars because you're going to get all of the jokes. Because it is funny if you know what the hell they're talking about. Um, there's a guy that owns the comic book store who's pretty much a jerk, but they include him on some things, and they were about to give him the ticket when Will Wheaton shows up, and they give him the ticket, and he is arch nemesis with Sheldon. I think they have made friends at this point, but so they go to the opening night show, and guess what Will Wheaton does? He shows up in a Star Trek shirt with the Vulcan ears, and all the Star Wars fans in the audience are like,
Uh, oh, that's
It's like,
funny.
I was like, come on, dude, that's just, I just, yeah. Yeah, they should have they could have put Will Wheaton in too. Come on, you're gonna put Grunberg in? Put Will Wheaton in. Make him play himself. You know,
Let me
put him in
get
a
your
red shirt.
let me get your take on the baddie Kylo Ren. What did you think about him?
Um, I was creeped out when they showed that he was carrying around his grandfather's head. Um, I I I don't know what to make of him. There's I'm guessing we're going to find out what happened because he did exactly what Darth Vader did in the temple, in the Jedi temple to Luke's Jedi school. He killed all the kids there. And um, the interesting polar opposite thing happened here, though. I'm sure Han and Leia were good parents. He wasn't abandoned. He was at his uncle Lukey's school there. Um, and why does he need more power? What was the driving force? And I'm wondering whether or not we're going to get some prequels to his childhood. But then again, who could play his parents? You know, um, certainly not Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford because
Well,
they're like 90 now.
yeah.
But
I'm sure they could figure something out. Maybe use some old footage from like they did with I think with Terminator when they brought the new Terminator movie. I didn't see it, but what I heard, they go back to 1984, and then the Arnold Schwarzenegger robot from '84 is there, looking exactly the same. Maybe they can take some of the footage from the old films and add it to that, maybe.
so who do you think is where did Rey come from? Is she Luke's daughter?
That's a I for the life of me I thought it was I from this point when I after I watched the movie my first thought was it's got to be Luke's daughter because why else would the lightsaber be calling to her? that specific lightsaber, not just any lightsaber, that specific lightsaber. Why would that be calling to her? And it just the general force awareness in her, because she didn't realize she had the force until she needed it to escape, and realized that she had that, and she had the visions and stuff like that. So that's the only thing is, and maybe that's a red herring. I don't know. One of my other favorite theories out there is that, and I don't think this works out because the age difference may be a little bit, but that her and Kylo Ren are twins, and when Kylo went crazy, he wiped the memory of her from everybody. I guess he was that powerful, but he didn't have that power. That's the thing is, the only thing is he could have used that for some other stuff, and he doesn't show it that he can do that. So that's the other theory out there too. I don't know if I buy that one. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't want them to be related in any way, because we always see the Skywalkers seem to be the main focus of the thing, but that's what the series is about. So, but it would add extra gravitas or whatever to it when in the finale of the trilogy, there's going to have that final battle between Kylo and Rey. You're going to have it. And if they are brother and sister or cousins or whatever, it adds that little added gravitas to it to make it more emotional. And but then you start going, things maybe she says, oh, you still got good in you, let me try to bring back the force. You're going back to what happened in Return of the Jedi. So at this point, I'm just going by what the theories are. The one theory I don't agree with is she's not related to Ben Kenobi. I'm sorry, people out there. It just doesn't work out that way. The things don't work. They don't line up. She's not related to Ben Kenobi. I'm sorry. She just isn't.
Yeah, that's the only other theory that I heard that was mentioned about her lineage. Because there is at the end of episode 3, when Yoda is telling Ben to look after young Skywalker, young Luke, he also tells him, hey, there's a way that you can come back after you die, where you can at least communicate and stuff. And he wanted him to look into that because the Liam Neeson character had figured out a way of doing it. So Ben was on that planet for a long time, 22 years. But like you said, he would have had to impregnate a woman that day that he met up with Luke, and then they left Tatooine. And then Rey would still be too old, because Rey would have been born before, I guess, Han and Leia get together and start having kids. I don't know if I like the big other theory out there is that Luke had a mistress or whatever and gave birth to, but I find it hard to believe that somebody that is that strong in the Force could have a child and not be aware of that child,
or abandon them for that matter too.
Right, and abandon them, and or unless she was left on purpose, to shield her and hide her.
And that's the thing. Maybe we're, everyone's overthinking it. Maybe it's as easy as when Kylo destroys the school that Luke's in. Maybe they were able. Maybe Rey was in the school as a young child, and maybe whoever got them out, not necessarily Luke, but someone got her out. And like maybe Kylo got some sort of premonition saying one of these people is going to destroy you, so he goes and he's going to destroy everybody, but they sneak someone out, and take her and take her off to another planet, whoever they got to take her off the planet, and maybe she's not related to the Skywalkers or Kenobis or the Solos or whoever. Maybe she's just one of these Force strong kids, one of maybe the strongest in a long time, and is destined to be the one to destroy Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren discovers this, so that's why he kills all the kids, but somehow they're able to get her out and put her on another planet. I mean, to me, that might sound cliche, but that sounds a bit more obvious, or not obvious, but more maybe realistic than maybe being Luke's daughter or a mysterious child that Han and Leia had that everyone forgot about or something like that. And the whole abandonment issue just is horrible. So, but obviously, since we do have another trilogy coming up, we should get all our answers in the next, let me see, 4 years or so.
Okay, so as I was saying, and I'm going to talk, and I don't know if you can, let me bring it down a little bit. I don't know if you could read his shirt. That's Harrison Ford, and his shirt says, "I'm Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and Blade Runner. I'm fucking over it." I would love to know if that's a real picture of Harrison Ford wearing that shirt, because it makes me like him even more now. And Scotty points out that Anakin, the young Anakin, is a lot shorter than the original Darth Vader, which I agree with. But hey, you know, I hear those helmet things put a couple of inches on. A lot of people, here goes the thing that made me laugh. A lot of people like, yeah, and young Anakin, he's like a whiny little kid. Because he's a little freaking kid. So why wouldn't he be whiny?
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out with the next movie. And where things are going to go.
I'm interested because Ryan Johnson is directing the next one, episode 8, which I think it starts filming for real in January. They've been doing some pickup shots for it in Ireland, so obviously we're going to continue with Luke and his stuff like that. Ryan Johnson did the movie Looper. I don't know if you saw Looper. That's his main claim to fame.
Probably have.
Yeah, Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, time travel. Regardless, he's a good director. I'm interested in that. And then number 9, you got Colin Trevorrow, who did Jurassic World. I thought he did an excellent job with Jurassic World, giving enough action in there. So I think that's good. And then, this year, this is the prime time, to be a Star Wars fan, because, no longer do we have these 3-year gaps in between movies. It's going to be a movie every year now. So they've cut down the trilogy to 2 years. So we'll see episode 8 in 2017 and then episode 9 in 2019. And then we're going to see Rogue One, which is the Star Wars movie coming out this year in December, which is a story that takes place in the past about how the Death Star plans from the first movie got stolen. And then there's a young Han Solo movie in the works. Also, they're starting to do casting on that one. And I think the other one was a Boba Fett or a Ben Kenobi and Yoda thing, something like that. There's going to be, but so you're going to get the trilogy, and then you're going to get all these, one and done movies about different points in the Star Wars saga. So pretty good time to be a Star Wars fan, I think.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I said it before, and I'll say it with some of the coming movies. I heard that George Lucas didn't like some of the things that they did, but hey, guess what? You sold your shit, dude. So
exactly.
Don't complain. But actually, I think he is retaining the rights for the first movie. And Disney is going to eventually get the rights to all the rest of the movies, but he is never going to give up the rights to the original Star Wars movie. So I guess there's probably some licensing stuff with the characters and stuff that, as long as they make a movie with any of the characters he created, he probably still gets a piece of it, which is probably a smart move on his point. But hey, listen, and he wasn't trashing it. I did read an interview where he wasn't happy, and he didn't go into details with some of the things that they were doing. But it sounded a little bit like sour grapes. Well, you want to know something, dude? Then you should have gone out and made the movies, and you shouldn't have sold it off. You know what I mean? And believe me, Disney is not stupid. I mean, they spent like 4 billion or 6 billion to buy the movies and the stories from him. Well, they're gonna make 2 billion off the box office worldwide, and that's without selling any toys, without selling any shirts, without any of the other stuff that comes along with it. Just off box office. Because a lot of people were saying, "Hey, Disney, this is pretty stupid." Oh, you want to know something? Yeah, Disney pretty smart, because guess what? Next thing you're gonna know, there's gonna be a section of Disney World that's gonna have a fucking Star Wars area, a Star Wars attraction. Universal's got Harry Potter. Well, guess what? We got Star Wars, mother effer.
And then on top of that, and this was a little ridiculous, they gave out the rights to advertising to everybody. You have the Dodge Ram. There's not a Dodge Ram in Star Wars, but they still say there was a powerful force, and if that powerful force drove a van, it would be the Dodge Ram. Or they have the oranges, the Valencia oranges. They would have BB-8 on the Valencia orange bag,
Yeah,
which makes sense. But hey, you're getting money for that too, so they're
yeah.
making a shit ton of money, not
Well,
just on the
that
box
that
office,
and
but on
and
that too.
every time one of those commercials came on, it also said, opening December 18th, opening December 18th, and then after the movie came out, now in theaters, now in theaters, and in the future when they make those commercials and they put them out, it'll say coming out in DVD on October 1st,
Yep,
on
there you go.
DVD October 1st,
Mm-hmm.
and then now out on DVD and on demand, you know, um, yeah. So I mean, who's stupider?
Exactly. No, I agree. I mean,
I mean,
they're
listen, um, he's walking. Lucas is walking away with bags of money, more money than he could spend in a freaking lifetime. And Disney is going to take that, and they're going to quadruple it and more. And believe me, they will milk that sucker um uh until they can't get any more water out of that stone. But um uh for a Disney film, okay, for a Disney film, if you think about it, it's a Disney film, PG-13, even though you know um I to tell you the truth, I didn't have any problems with the movie. I mean, except for the one death that was kind of brutal um in the movie. I didn't have a problem with it. For the most part, Star Wars movies have been pretty bloodless, because it's all been energy blasts and lightsabers and stuff. There's some blood in this movie though,
mhm.
which is not typical of a Star Wars film. But I would say, hey, um, we didn't spoil it too much, did we?
No, I don't think so. I
Um,
don't think so at all. Yeah, I mean, hopping around the death is perfect. I mean, um, it's a big one, and it's going to be some changes coming. And the fact is, at this point, they did an excellent job, and I agree. I love the one thing that people are saying is that originally in the first couple drafts, Luke Skywalker played as big of a role as a Han and a Leia and a Chewie and stuff like that. But then they said, but we want to introduce these new characters, and it just seemed like every time Luke came on the screen, everyone's looking at Luke because it's who they remember. They remember Luke. They were thinking this in their heads that they would just be Luke would take over the scene, and then their characters that they're trying to build up take second stage to it, second banana to it, because it's the original Star Wars trilogy, 4 through 5 and 6 are Luke's story. So then they came up with a brilliant idea, and this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but he doesn't show up till the very end of the movie and doesn't
right.
say a damn word. It just gives a look, and he's going to
Listen,
be a huge.
but at the beginning of the movie, in big letters, Mark Hamill. So for that 2 days worth of work that he did to film that one scene that he's in, I'm sure he got paid bags of money.
And on top of
Um,
that too, I mean, but now we know that once the second one comes out in 2 years, he's going to play a much bigger role because it ends on not really a cliffhanger, but here's where it's going to go. the story in Force Awakens ends. We see what happens to all the characters, remaining characters behind, how everything ends up, and then we have this little kicker at the end where we are going to segue into the sequel. So he's going to play a much bigger role in the second one, and maybe possibly even the third one, or who knows what could happen to him in the second one. Or he could say, "Hell with you guys, I did my job in the second one. Third one, you're on your own." Who knows?
It could be. I mean, it's kind of up in the air at this point because, like you said, the movie ended. I mean, you need to find out where this is going because there's still another war, and I'm going to let out a spoiler here. So, after the end of the Empire, the Republic never came back. The Republic was still kind of there, but a new faction has come in and taken the Empire's place. So basically, that is why everybody is saying, well, okay, so we've got a new empire, and it's even nastier than the old empire. That's why everybody's saying it's the same movie rehashed. But, it's not. There's been a lot of time in between now and the last movie, and we'll have to see where it goes. But I mean, in the original Star Wars, the Death Star was a moon-sized battle station. They have supersized it to be the size of a planet now. So that you'll have that to look forward to. But before we get out of here, I want to say one thing about Star Wars. Star Wars was one of those things. It's a science fiction film, science fiction story, but it is fantasy science fiction. Because I know, and most people know, that if you were actually flying in a spaceship doing those kind of acrobatics that they're doing, unless there's something on that ship that's stopping gravity and physics from working on your body, if you're moving very fast in one direction and then the ship decides that it's going to go in a totally different direction, guess what? Your body wants to keep on going in the original direction it was going in. And as soon as you make one of those turns, you should turn into a splat on the inside of your spaceship. Okay, that's physics. That's why fighter pilots have to worry about pulling certain amount of G's because the blood will rush from their head to their toes and vice versa, and they'll black out. So that's the same thing that should happen when you're in space, but it doesn't happen in Star Wars. So either they have something that we don't know about, or it's a fucking movie. So let's not worry about the physics there. Okay.
Actually, to piggyback on that, I see there was a theory out there that actual physicists were saying that in Return of the Jedi, when they destroyed the Death Star, again, that the planet Endor, the planet moon of Endor, should have been destroyed as well, and all the Ewoks should have died because of the way that the explosion went and where the stuff was going to be landing. It was going to tear out their water and stuff like that. Right. And I wrote something. So he says, like, it's a movie. It's movie physics. There is no such thing as a force, that you can control things. If there was, I'd be like, I want that Sprite can right now, and I'm trying to get it. Yeah. But it's not happening. Oh, there it is. But I had to grab it.
Well, here goes some more Star Wars physics that don't work. Well, first of all, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Now, because light can travel the speed of light, then it is possible to travel at the speed of light. Now, in Star Trek physics, let me get my Star Trek physics. Okay. So, we can use this. Okay. So this is Star Trek physics. Okay. So this is space in Star Trek. Okay. So what they do in Star Trek is this. So you start out over here and then they warp space. So they travel the eighth of an inch from this side of the piece of paper to the other side of the piece of paper. And then when they come out of warp, they started out here and they end up over here. Okay, so they actually don't travel faster than the speed of light. Okay, in Star Wars, they do. They use hyperdrive and they go faster than the speed of light. Now, right now, we don't have any. So, my theory is if you can travel faster than the speed of light, then you got to have something on the spaceship that keeps your inertia so that when you're moving along with the spaceship and it comes to a sudden stop, you don't continue to move and splat against the windshield like you do when you're in a car and you jam on the brakes and your body gets pushed forward. That's the way physics works. That's the way it's supposed to work. But it doesn't do that in Star Wars. The other thing that happens in Star Wars, and it happens a lot in the first, not the first 4, 5, and 6, but in 1, 2, and 3, where Anakin is in one place and Obi-Wan is in another place on another planet, light years away, and they're having an instantaneous video conference. They're talking. They're at the Hall of the Jedi, and there is a holographic person sitting at a chair. Okay, and they're having a conversation, and that person is able to join them in real time from a planet far, far away. Okay, that can't happen. Okay, when NASA talks to the astronauts on the way to the moon, there's like a 30 or 40-second delay. When they're sending signals to one of the satellites that's going to Mars, depending on where Mars is, it can take 3 to 5 minutes. It takes 8 minutes for the light from the sun to get to the Earth. And the sun is only 93 million miles away. Okay? You can't have a instantaneous radio conversation with somebody over a great distance like that unless you're doing something really funky. I'm just saying. Yeah. So if you take all of that stuff and you push it away and you say, I am going to ignore all of it because you have to do that, then you become one with the Force. Because it doesn't matter. It's not trying to be scientifically accurate. It's not trying to be plausible. Star Trek is, though, to a certain extent. And actually, I think I may have mentioned this once before, but there's a website called buildtheenterprise.com. Check it out. There's a bunch of guys that are building the Enterprise. They're drawing up plans. They want to build a mock-up, but a real working version of the Enterprise. It doesn't have warp drive. It's not going to have warp drive. They're hoping to develop a warp drive, but they want to build the Enterprise. And I haven't checked out that website in a couple of months, and every couple of months I check it out and they add some new stuff, and they've got donors. They've got people that are giving them money. So, hey, let's build the Enterprise, people.
Awesome.
I'd rather have the Millennium Falcon, though, because it's cooler. It's better.
Nice.
I love the Millennium Falcon. I want one. I want a Millennium Falcon that works. I want a sonic screwdriver, and I want the Jets to win the Super Bowl. Not much to ask.
I'll win the $700 million Powerball. I'll be fine with that.
Well, yeah, so would I. Got to buy the tickets, though. I didn't win the last time when it was 400 million, but I'll take a $500 million. Hey, listen, lump sum is 350. Give half to Obama for Obama. Keep the rest. I'd be okay.
I'm okay too.
So with that, February 11th, I think, is the.
That would be appropriate, yeah. Right after the Super Bowl and right before Walking Dead. That would make perfect sense. Yep, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
So February 11th, I will put that on my calendar. And with that, I am fading fast. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody.
Me too.
And what are you doing this weekend?
Sunday, 12:30, my list show with Jerry Fletcher. We're going to be doing top 10. We were going to do worst sequels, but I was thinking about most disappointing sequels. So we'll be talking sequels, and should be interesting conversation as we always have. And then next Thursday, 9 o'clock, I'll be doing my fourth Harry Potter show. We finally got that worked out. So two big things coming up in the next week or so. Other than that, that's all I got going on.
Alrighty, and I've got nothing. So until February the 11th. One thing, check your emails, not for this Saturday, but maybe for next Saturday. There's a possibility we may have a game night. Some shooting up and killing of people and stuff. We'll see how that works out.
Bye.
And with that, I will say good night. Dylan?
See you later, guys. Enjoy your week.